All right. A little living room action. Let's see if we can adjust this a little bit. Hey, Emmett. Hey, Emmett. Can you turn the fan towards me? No, over here. Can you turn the fan towards me, please? And the dog. Move it a little closer. Well, he wants the fan too. All right, now I have to get the chat on board. Let's get chat. Yeah, I'm on right now. Trying to get everything together here. We'll pop out the chat. Yeah, it's super clear now because I am like within 5 feet of the Wi-Fi. Okay, so let's see what we have for questions here. Well, first we need to get that out of the way. Doing a little house cleaning here, so be patient. Okay, get rid of that. We have 29 viewers, so those people that are on, please hit the like button, share this out, tell your friends that we're on. Say, hey, you got to come to watch the Bitcoin Live and Let Die show Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And I am almost set up here. I am now getting all the news stories set up. I'm on my laptop here instead of my main system downstairs. I thought for sure that I was going to be able to do it right on the porch. Such a beautiful day. What's up, Bo, Maximus, Marv, Dex for sure. How you doing? All of you guys, thank you so much for showing up. Sean, others. Really, really appreciate it. So we got a little bounce overnight, starting right around 3 a.m. Thanks, Marv. Got a little bounce, popped up about 150, maybe 200 points, right within what I had predicted, actually. If you remember yesterday, I was saying that we would probably consolidate up in this area. The hard part about using a laptop is the small screen and just one monitor. So you have to kind of rearrange all the furniture. Yep, rearrange all the furniture. Paintings behind us. That painting, it's hard to see. I had that commissioned by an artist. Her name is Marjorie Mason, and she's quite a popular Martha's Vineyard artist. And actually, this painting right here is by her as well as this painting over there. All three of those. This is kind of our vineyard wall. And but that picture right there, it's hard to tell, but I don't know if I can zoom in on that. Anyways, that picture right there is depicting what we used to do with my kids. I used to bring my two kids down to the beach, down to Lambert's Cove, and walk along the beach with our dog. And we would stop at that rock right there, which is called Split Rock. And if anybody knows anything about Martha's Vineyard, you'll know what Split Rock is. And I would sit there with a bunch of stones, and every morning I would try to throw it into the split. And if I got up to 3 stones in there, then I'd consider good luck for the day. Always got 3 stones in there. Dead shot. Anyways, the wife is there with the 2 kids and the dog in that picture. This is actually, you know, she never paints people with people into her pictures. So this is really one of only 2 pictures. And I actually own the other picture with someone walking on a beach by her with people in the scene. She does something called monotype, which is a really incredible way to paint. It's a single impression print. So she paints it backwards on a plate, either a glass plate or a metal plate, and then transfers it to the canvas one time, and that's it. So incredibly talented artist, Marjorie Mason. That was actually done in 2003. So it's at least 15 years old. So what is backed? That's a good question. So Backed is a company that was started by ICE. Now, ICE is the Intercontinental Exchange. They're the people that own the New York Stock Exchange. And Backed is a new company that is formed for a number of reasons. One is that they're putting out a proposal for a futures contract. They call it a daily futures contract. I'm not sure exactly all the specifications. They're unclear. I read through them, and it's still not clear what they mean by a daily futures contract. And their Backed is also being financed, or not financed, or at least there are investors by Microsoft and Starbucks, purportedly. And that's where the story came out that Starbucks, and their intent really is to create a kind of a payment processing center. And utilizing the the technology that they developed, plus basing it off of that futures exchange, I guess. That, I don't know all the full details. It's still a little murky. But from that, a lot of people assumed then that meant that Starbucks was going to start offering Bitcoin as a payment method for Starbucks coffee. And they backed off on that and said, look, we don't have any plans on offering Bitcoin as a payment method. I think that in general, and plus, this is only a proposal for this futures contract. I think they're still going to go through with the idea of creating a payment processor and, bringing Microsoft into the deal, plus one of the largest retailers and other investors. That kind of makes sense, I mean, Microsoft is very heavily into point of sale systems. They also at least have some modicum of experience for user interfaces, although I don't particularly think Microsoft has proven themselves there. Apple is obviously the leader there. However, it's better than having, say, nobody, So there could be good things coming from Backed in the future. David asks, what are your thoughts on Willy Woo's NVT indicators based on fundamental data? I am not familiar with Willy Woo's NVT indicators. However, I would certainly entertain the idea. If you can send a link or send me something, I would love to look at it. Ernie goes live, Bitcoin goes red. Did it really? Let's check that out. Yeah, not that red. Take a look at the 15-minute chart. TradingView kind of frustrates me because I had all these lines and everything drawn up on my other computer, and when I load that same screen, that same save screen, it doesn't retain all the lines, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, it's starting to go red just a little bit. I wouldn't call that anything. So one of the questions was Willy Woo's NVT, and so let's look that up. The NVT ratio, Woo Bull charts. Willy Woo Bull. Let's take a look at this. And I'm going to need to share that screen. All right, so this is overheard in a chat room. Let's see. Willy Woo. Not sure I understand what I'm looking at here. Seems to be a blog. Let me go back, see if there are other links. They have the NVT ratio. Okay, so here's the Woo Bull charts and the NVT ratio. So here's some information about the NVT ratio. It's the network value to transactions ratio, similar to the PE ratio used on equity markets. When Bitcoin's NVT is high, it indicates that its network valuation is outstripping the value being transmitted on its payment network. This can happen when the network is in high growth and investors are valuing it as high return investment, or alternatively, when the price is in an unsustainable bubble. So I guess according to this, now I am, let's see. So this red line is the NVT ratio. And so I don't know if this is considered high or not, but apparently then it is apparently outstripping its purported value. So this is very difficult to read, and it is a 14-day moving average, and really this is kind of interesting. So basically what it's saying is that the value was really low during the bubble, and then rose as the bubble burst. So I'm not exactly sure how to interpret that. So I would imagine that the value is yeah. This is going to take a little bit more investigation to really understand what this is all about. But I don't see the correlation to value. I mean, if this is indicating that there is a higher value in the network, that may be true according to the calculation, but whether or not that matches with reality, I guess that's another thing. Was the big green not due to the Goldman Sachs news? There was Goldman Sachs news. I didn't see the Goldman Sachs news. The last time I saw that there was Goldman Sachs news, they were kind of down on Bitcoin, saying they didn't see much future in it. But that was just a few days ago. Now, perhaps there was a new bit of news. So the NVT ratio tells if bear market is in effect. NVT signals calls the top and bottoms. So as it goes up, it's more bearish. Goldman Sachs said they will think about starting a custody. That's interesting because just a couple of days ago, they put out a story saying that they thought that Bitcoin had no future. Jason Koo asks, is there any factors that make Bitcoin bullish at the moment? So I think that some people are citing this Goldman Sachs news, which again it flies in the face of something that just happened just the other day. So let's look up Goldman Sachs and Bitcoin. So Goldman Sachs will manage Bitcoin for its clients. Goldman Sachs has reiterated its plans to roll out crypto asset offerings. I mean, see this story right here on August 3rd? Goldman Sachs, Bitcoin is never coming back. So let's start with this story and then move on to the more recent stories and see. Now, this is by Market Insider. Goldman Sachs Investment Strategy Group says Bitcoin will continue to decline. It also says that the virtual currency meets none of the three definitions of usable money and makes up just 0.3% of the global GDP. Bitcoin has declined by 48% in 2018. That's all? I think it's way more than that. So despite headline making plans to open Bitcoin trading desk earlier this year, Goldman Sachs still isn't sold on the virtual currency. In a mid-year economic, now see whether or not, now did this all come from a recent interview or story or a leak from Goldman Sachs? That's the question. So in a mid-year economic outlook report, the bank's investment strategy group says the price of Bitcoin is likely to decline even further than the 45% it has in the first 7 months of 2018. Our view that the cryptocurrencies would not retain value in their current incarnation remains intact and, in fact, has been borne out much sooner than we expected. The team, led by Chief Investment Officer Sharman Mosavar Rahamani. So they have an actual quote from the team lead by the Chief Investment Officer. We expect further declines in the future given our view that these cryptocurrencies do not fulfill any of the three traditional roles of a currency. They are neither a medium of exchange nor this is pretty damning stuff here. And this is just, 4 days ago. All right. Importantly, we continue to believe that such declines will not negatively impact the performance of broader financial assets because cryptocurrencies represent just 0.3%. In fact, we believe that they garner far more traditional media and social media attention than is warranted. Now, I wonder if Sharman is still working at Goldman considering this new news. So now this is saying insiders reveal. Now this is very interesting. And this is the Bitcoinist. Now here's one by Yahoo Finance. Let's follow that one. That probably has some credible references, maybe. Goldman Sachs may store Bitcoin for cryptocurrency funds institutional investors. All right, May. Now notice that there is a fundamental difference between these stories. There's a fundamental difference between these stories. There's the story that happened 4 days ago that was cited by their chief investment officer. And then there are the more recent stories that go in the face of that story that cite sources. Consider that. It doesn't sound very official to me. It doesn't sound like an official statement. Now we can read further on and see if there is something else that we can read into this. But there is a quote here, but it says, a spokesman, in response to client interest in various digital products, we are exploring how best to serve them in this space. The report cited a spokesperson for Goldman Sachs as saying, at this point, we have not reached a conclusion on the scope of our digital asset offering. So, man, this is about as weak a story as one could possibly imagine. The first story 4 days ago, was fairly definitive and from a credible source. This story is from an obscure source, not cited, and does not give any kind of definitive stance vis-a-vis Goldman Sachs' idea about cryptocurrencies. So, I don't know. You weigh that in your mind and tell me what you think. TradingView shows chart is reacting faster than the one on BitMEX itself. A lot of talk about warning signs that this stock market is due for a huge correction soon. Do you believe that there could be a market crash within a year or so? So, Sammy, that's an interesting question. I don't believe that we're in for a market crash, but I do believe that there may be a significant correction sometime in the future. Maybe within the year, maybe further on down the lines. Yesterday, I showed you my yield curve, the yield curve that I track on a daily basis. And I showed in yesterday's show that the yield curve since the beginning of the year has certainly flattened out significantly. Now, it's not flat. Flattening versus flat or versus inverse are two different things. Plus, even after a curve goes flat or even inverted, an economy can sail for many, many months or even years, multiple years, 1 or 2 years. So I am not so worried about anything in the near term, although a flattening yield curve is or does portend, for the most part, a significant correction or even a possible recession coming in the future. That doesn't mean that it has to happen. It can be reverted. Other things can take over. Situations can change. The economy underneath could really start heating up, and longer-term bonds could start taking off. So any of that could happen. Is there any factors that make Bitcoin bullish at the moment? Not that I can see. Ernie, make sure to check out the NVT signal as well. It is much better spotting tops and bottoms. I'm going to start looking at that, David. Thank you very much for alerting me to that. I'd like to figure out if there is a way that I can, if there is a live version of that, and I can change and fool around with the different time frames. Yeah, Goldman Sachs says that they will think about starting custody. Yeah, right. That's right, Marv. I mean, they're thinking about it, and it's also from a source that they reported. It wasn't from a definitive source. Yeah, Sammy, that's what I was thinking. Fake news. They have an agenda. Yeah, it seems that, all the cryptocurrency outlets out there simultaneously come up with this story that kind of goes in the face of the story from three or 4 days ago that was cited from a credible source. You be the judge. Market crash end of 2019, 2020. That's very possible out in the ball. I would not. Now, I wouldn't say a market crash, I guess it depends on what you consider a market crash. If price does fall, say up to 10 or 15% in a very short period of time, I guess that could be considered a crash, or just a severe correction. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at. Do you think it's a great position to short? We've already come down for the past 6-7 days. And so this would be a difficult position to short. I would wait for us to move up into a low volume well where there is some definitive resistance, and then take a short from there. Where we're at right now, I'd say that we have to pull back some more before you have very good odds on a short. Otherwise, I would stay out of the market. This hat, by the way, Anza Brego. That's a desert, a high plains desert that is about an hour and a half inland from San Diego. We were there last year. It was hot, very, very, very hot. All right, guys. So yesterday we got up to 72 viewers about 40 minutes into the show. I'm not so sure that we're going to get there today. Now, maybe we lost some viewers when I had to switch over from the porch to the living room. Thanks, Edwin. Do you think... Okay, so let's see if there are any other... I like to make these shows all about addressing your questions. So if you have questions, please ask them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go on to some news. There's not a whole lot to tell about Bitcoin itself. Let's see, we'll share the screen and take a look at what's going on. All right. How does that look? All right, so here we get the 1 hour chart. And one thing to note about this move down, this has been a move down with very, very little pullback. I mean, the compression of each pullback, the compactness is very remarkable. So let's take a look at that. I mean, if you look at each one of these, so we have this pullback here. This pullback here. One can argue that this was also a pullback or consolidation, very small. And then we have this one, which is much larger. So I'm looking at this, and we can probably see or view this in a bigger time frame. We take a look at this, and we have a big flag right here. Right here we have a low volume well. So we have really strong resistance right here. This big guy right here was a big, huge volume well, and we developed this small balance in the middle of it. So if we were to back up, you can see that very clearly. Let's go to the 4 hour chart. So you can see this big volume well right here. So what I can see happening, I mean, there are one of two things. We could, in fact, come right up to here and consolidate all the way up to this high value node, but I think that that's unlikely. I think that we'll probably stop at this low volume well and then continue down. This appears to be the more likely case. Now, of course, it is possible that we continue to move up here and move right into this area. I mean, that would create a very nicely defined bear flag. And I would imagine that it would be expanded, something like that. But I don't see any reason why that might constitute a reversal at all. I mean, you can see all these other bearish flags that we had previously. They were very well defined, pulled back substantially, good range. These others that we've had here are just so tight. This is a big move down. Which areas would be good for shorting in your opinion? 7,400 area, maybe? Well, like I said, that blue line that I drew, which was the bottom of the low volume well, is likely a good place. You'll find that that will provide some good resistance, and in fact, it has already provided support and resistance in two separate areas. One back near the end of July, and another back here in June. People just want to be tricked into buying more, so they listen to moon channels. Fasten your seatbelts, we're gonna moon any second. Of course. It was already 71.30 today. Isn't that the volume well? Yeah, but you know, a volume well isn't necessarily a single price. You could refer to it as more of a series or a range of prices. So let's take a look at that. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. That kind of hides the other data. So I look at the volume well being more like a range. It's like right in here. So the blue line is set at the very, very lowest portion of it. And as you can see, we've had some support here a little bit above that blue line. And I'm sorry, right there. And some support right here as well. And now we're popping up to it and finding a little bit of resistance. So that's the way I would look at it. Hopefully that makes sense to you. I predict 15,000 by the end of the day. All right, man, you need to start your own YouTube channel. You'll get 100,000 people in no time. If the volume well, something like the order book visualized, well, yeah, I mean, this whole area is the volume well. See how there's a lack of volume. These are high value nodes, all of these guys sticking up. The volume well, these low areas are the lowest areas of them. This is a massive volume well. That's why we moved very quickly through it. We moved halfway through it and we found some resistance down here, and then we consolidated a bit right here and started to create what appears to be another minor node. Yeah, that's volume profile. I think it just means that there's a little volume at that price. Well, I mean, that's exactly what a volume well is. It is a lack of volume. But more importantly, from an investor's point of view or a trader or a market point of view, the market isn't finding any value there. If they don't find any value there, then they don't want to be there. So they either want to, price will either get rejected or they'll skate right through those volume wells very quickly. And this is behavior that you can observe everywhere. I mean, virtually all volume wells behave the same, as opposed to a high value node where price tends to be attracted to it. So you can use high value nodes as kind of like targets for your trading, and use volume wells as areas where you can trade from or take positions from. Seems to me that Bitcoin is making strides to be a usable currency via the Lightning Network, atomic swaps, etc. Litecoin and other SegWit coins are also positioned well to work together with Bitcoin. Now, okay, so there's going to be stories about that. The Lightning Network is expanding, and so that's a positive. However, virtually nobody knows about it. So while you say that it's making strides, the strides are so infinitesimal that it is not even worth mentioning. There's really no interface to it. Seriously, there's no vendor interface to a Lightning Network. There's no payment processors that will use the Lightning Network. You don't seem to see a bright future for Bitcoin. Is that because you have faith in the future of the dollar? Because I don't. No, I never said that. So I suppose coming into this discussion without actually seeing a lot of my videos in the past, and of course you're not going to see a lot of them from way back. Market for what it is. I am a skeptic. I use logic and reason. I am a believer in the fundamentals. And if something is bullish, I'll call it bullish. If it's bearish, I'll call it bearish. I'm also a technologist. I've been a technologist and in finance for 40 years. So I love the technology. I am not as hyped up about it as other people because I see it from a realist point of view. I provided technical management guidance or technology management consulting. That was an international technology management consultant for many years, as well as being a chief architect of a Fortune 50 company where I provided technology guidance to the C-level folk and executives of Fortune 5s to Fortune 1000s. So this is not an area that I'm not familiar with. I am extremely familiar with it. And so it's not that I am down on Bitcoin. It is that right now there are huge headwinds, and the utility of Bitcoin has been completely overblown. I'm not saying it doesn't have a bright future sometime in the distant future, but in the next year or two, no way. Maybe in a couple of years, we might see some big changes in the market, and I'm certainly willing to wait until then and trade it until then. You should also know that I do run a crypto hedge fund where I trade Bitcoin futures as well as other commodity futures, but Bitcoin tends to make the centerpiece of that fund. So it's not like I'm not involved in this market or don't care or don't think that there are not opportunities. I certainly do. But I take it from a very grounded point of view, one that like a CEO of another company might take it and try to decide whether or not this is a technology that we need to invest in right now. That I do not believe. We're not even close to that. Now, there are other technologies that are coming on board that may prove to, or may even surpass Bitcoin or some of the other platform coins. My view really is that most of the platform coins need to go away. most of the altcoins need to go away. Simple. All right. So hopefully that position is very clear. So while you know about Lightning and atomic swaps and SegWit, virtually nobody within the in the cryptoverse really understands any of that stuff, and not just virtually, absolutely nobody outside of the Bitcoin world has any idea what you're talking about. Most people that are inside the cryptoverse have no idea how crypto works. So it is such a fringe technology. To think that it has a bright future is extremely speculative. It has nothing to do with the dollar. And as a matter of fact, Bitcoin has very little correlation to the dollar or any other asset. Okay, Mr. Sweeney, question. What is your opinion on the economist Martin Armstrong and his predictions? You know, I'll be honest that I haven't followed Martin Armstrong's predictions as of late, so I can't comment on it. But I will look it up, and I will be prepared next time to talk about it. Can I get the volume profile somewhere for free? I would say that there are very few places where you can get it for free that is of any use. TradingView is by far the cheapest alternative with the best set of tools, and it's only $14 a month. So if you can't afford $14 a month, you probably shouldn't be trading anyways. Not making any judgments, just saying what it is. All right. So it looks like we've gone through most of the questions. My chat seems to have died on me. Let me see if I can pull out another one. I'm just a student with no money, so I put a lot of hope into Bitcoin, sadly too much of late. First time I read the word Bitcoin was in 2009. I thought about buying it to donate to the torrent board, but I would never have held it anyways. Yeah, I understand. All eyes. Okay, hey Ernie, I'm here now. Time to get on to the hard-hitting questions. Are you ready for this? I've been experimenting with tetherball and have gained since 8,300. I have no idea what tetherball is. Actually, I know what tetherball is. I used to play it quite often when I visited my cousins up in Maine at Fairmont Park, and we used to play tetherball. But of course, I'm sure that that's not what you're talking about. Well, let's take a look at what tetherball is. Looking up tetherball. Oh, like I said, the only thing I found for tetherball is the traditional tetherball. I hate these really cheap tetherball courts where they have a steel pole. The one that we had in Maine was this big, huge, massive log that they stuck in and then we had this wonderful court around it that was kind of rubberized tar or asphalt. It was awesome. That was real tetherball. And the pole was about 15 feet high, so it wasn't one of these dinky ones. Does TradingView offer a volume profile for altcoins? Yeah. The volume profile works on all the different exchanges that they support. So stocks, futures, indexes, cryptocurrencies, Forex, etc. I meant tethers. Tether is supposed to stay with the price of the dollar. It would worry me if it's not. Where would you suggest storing value? Precious metals? Precious metals could be one place, but I prefer things that will appreciate in value as well as provide income. So the best place, in my view, is to buy income-producing property or to own a business or to have some stocks, dividend-paying stocks. That's probably another great place. Bonds is another thing because it pays interest. Any kind of income-producing property, agricultural property, that sort of thing. I would also say that there are certain types of collectibles, investment-grade collectibles, because they have or can have significant appreciation, of course. Investment-grade collectibles really requires a keen skill and eye and knowing what you're getting into. But any of those things are things that can be wealth-building. Of course, money in the bank, that helps. Always need money in the bank. Also, Ernie, did you look into Hydro Protocol, the liquidity provider for DEX in the future? I must admit that I have not had time to do it, but I am going to try. Please try to stay on top here, Ernie. We're talking about crypto. Well, first of all, I very rarely talk about any of the altcoins. I really have no interest in them. I have interest in the broader crypto market. I have interest in if there is a platform that is going to advance distributed ledger technologies. I am definitely interested in that, like Hashgraph, Hedera Hashgraph. I am interested in where Bitcoin is going because it is the de facto leader. What I'm most interested in is that we have some kind of washout to get rid of all the crap coins so that we can have some clarity on where this market is going and where it's heading. Most money I made with Referium by streaming my music channel 24/7. It's like a Ponzi for kids. Interesting. Lego. What do you think about the algorithms that the big market holders are using to move the market? Well, I don't know about the specific algorithms, but it's very easy to see that they are definitely manipulating the market. I could probably guess on how they're implementing those algorithms, but I mean, they're relatively simple. They're simply buy or sell algorithms. There are some that are using what we call a paint the tape methodology to try to move them up the ladder, the price ladder. But lots. Let's see, half a lot. What do you think about algorithms? Lego Wife had bought lots of very early sets here in Hong Kong, selling them on eBay for profit. Okay. I used to play with Legos when I was a kid. Believe it or not, they had Legos back then. Ernie, seasoned grower myself, are you going to show your growing skills? I most definitely would be interested. I don't know. If you're somewhat interested, I would say go to Instagram and Dude from Earth. I do have some pictures there. What do you think about trading bots like Gecko? Are they working? I wouldn't buy any trading bot. I can guarantee you that most of them are scams. You a grower or a shower? I don't know what that means. or a shower. Can we use anything of what we know about those algorithms for our advantage in trading? No. Right now, all I would do is I would wait for them to pump it and then short it. Pretty much that's been the strategy. A free bot will be worth about as exactly what it's worth or what it costs. Free, it's worth nothing. And for experienced programmers, I can guarantee you it's a piece of crap. I don't even have to look at it to tell you and know that it is a piece of crap. And in the hands of someone that doesn't understand algorithmic or quantitative trading, it is more dangerous than good. So this is Neo. Say hi to Neo. He seems to be kind of hot today. Obi's somewhere else in the house. Marv, please take my advice that if you're getting an algorithm from somebody or you're copying it from others and you know nothing about it, don't even bother. Hey, I've been doing quantitative trading, systematic trading, developing systems for hedge funds for a long time. Trust me, if you know nothing, even if you know something, stay away from it. Hey, Ernie, most utility of coins are over-the-counter, not market referenced. Why do you think we have to wipe out coins that aren't useful? Wouldn't the actual utility organically manage this? What I'm saying is that most of the coins that are out there right now, I would say well north of 95%, are completely useless. They are crud. They are Ponzi schemes, or they were cash grabs. I don't care what kind of utility you think that they're providing. They are crap. They need to go. They muddy the entire market. They have zero utility. They'll never have any utility, with the exception of maybe a few. I don't know which ones those are yet. That's why we need most of them to go. Have you thought about using one broker and sharing your trades there for others to copy? I've thought about that, but it's not going to help anybody that's going to try to copy the trades. You can take the most experienced trader in the world, sit him down, and then put someone right next to him and try to copy those trades. And I guarantee you that person is not going to do as well as the experienced trader. As a matter of fact, they may end up losing money. Seen it many times. He doesn't have a hard time with the heat. That's just him. All right, thanks, Marv. Yeah, we don't do RDWC anymore. Now we're going strictly organic. Organic is by far the better way to go, in my view. Less risk, better quality. It really comes down to the genetics, though. Without good genetics, yeah, I built all my hydroponics myself. So we've done drip systems, RDWC. We've done ebb and flow. I've done 10 different types, and now we're into organics. And by far, never been happier. Better results all around. But it still comes down to genetics. All right, so it's been more than an hour. I think we need to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody. Now, also, I want to remind you that I offer coaching, trader coaching, as well as entrepreneurial coaching. You can go to Trader of Futures for that. And this weekend, I'm offering a volume profile course. Now, with the volume profile course, you'll also get a one-on-one coaching session with me. I value that, or I sell that for $300 a pop. So that's a great deal. So you learn volume profile, and then you can have that coaching session. So it's like a private session where you can maybe get started on your trading strategy with volume profile, or do whatever you want to do. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope to see you tomorrow. Tell your friends about it. Thank you. Take care.